Welcome to Skippers. Today we are going to break down 4 of the most lopsided baseball trades of the 2000s. I was focused on straight up deals instead of looking at certain trade trees that are yet to be completed. Today's video is brought to you by Rare MLB. Let's get straight into the trades. On June 30th, 2006, the Mariners sent shortstop prospect Eduardo Cabrera to the Cleveland Indians for 35-year-old first base and outfielder, now turned broadcaster, Eduardo Perez. To that point in the season, Perez was hitting .303 and 99 at-bats with 8 home runs and 22 runs batted in, and an OPS plus of 147. The Seattle Mariners were 41-40 at the point of the trade and were 2 games out of a playoff spot. Eduardo Perez had a career average of .247 and hadn't hit above .255 in 3 years. And instead of projecting what could have been, they still went out and acquired the aging bat. Eduardo Cabrera wasn't showing huge numbers to rival that of a big-time prospect, but he showed flashes as a youngster. As a 19-year-old, he played across 3 levels from A-ball to AAA, where he hit .296 with an OPS of 795. At the time of the deal, Cabrera was hitting .237 at AAA Tacoma with 3 home runs and 22 runs batted in. This shouldn't be to your surprise, but Eduardo Perez was horrible after he was dealt. He only appeared in 43 games where he hit .195 with an OPS plus of 46, and he only launched 1 long ball and had 1 double. The Mariners went 37-44 the rest of the season and finished 4th in the division, and Eduardo Perez ended up retiring at year's end. For Eduardo Cabrera, things were just getting started. He made his big league debut in 2007 and ended up playing for 15 seasons, 8 of them spent with Cleveland's organization. In Cleveland, he played 914 games for the Tribe, where he hit .270, had 933 hits, 82 home runs, 430 runs batted in, and scored 475 runs. He accumulated over 21 wins above replacement in that time. Who knows if this would have helped the Mariners having the longest active playoff drought, not only in MLB, but in any of the 4 major pro sports in North America from 2001 until 2022. The Mariners lost this trade by 21.62 wins above replacement. On July 19th, 2000, the Toronto Blue Jays traded shortstop prospect Michael Young to the Texas Rangers in exchange for pitching depth and Esteban Loaiza. Michael Young was a 5th-round pick out of UC Santa Barbara and played at low A, A-ball, and high A in his first 3 minor league seasons, all of which he hovered around the 300 mark with 85 runs batted in those full minor league seasons. At the time of the trade, Michael Young was hitting .275 for the AA Tennessee Smokies, in which he had 6 home runs, 16 stolen bags, and had driven in 47 runs in 91 games. In the Blue Jays' defense, they had a competent infield at the time. Carlos Delgado was playing first base, 27-year-old Alex Gonzalez was playing short, Homer Bush was also 27 playing second base, and Tony Batista hit 41 bombs and drove in 114 while playing third base that season. The need for infield help wasn't on the mind of the Toronto Blue Jays. What they desperately needed was pitching help. The rotation consisted of David Wells, Roy Halladay, Chris Carpenter, Kelvin Escobar, and Frank Castillo. At the time of the deal, Roy Halladay had an ERA over 10, Chris Carpenter had an ERA over 6.6, and Escobar was just under 5. Loaiza was a painfully average arm. In his 3 years with the Rangers, he had a record of 17-17, an ERA over 5, a WHIP of 149, a Ks per 9 of only 6, a FIP of 4.68, giving up 46 home runs in 307 innings. The Jays were 51-45 on the day of the trade and tied with the Red Sox for 2nd place. They went on to finish 83-79, which wasn't good enough to make the playoffs, finishing 3rd, 4.5 games back. This wasn't Loaiza's fault, as he pitched well, going 5-7 with a 3.62 ERA in his 14 starts with the Blue Jays, and ended up having a decent Jays tenure that lasted 2.5 years. In those 2.5 years as a Jay, he went 25-28, a 4.96 ERA in 69 starts, but the Jays didn't finish over 500 after that 2000 season. After 2002, Loaiza signed with the Chicago White Sox, where he would go on to have back-to-back All-Star appearances. And on the flip side, Michael Young was a great Texas Ranger. In his 13 years with the ball club, Young hit .301 with 2,230 hits, 177 home runs, 984 runs batted in, well over 1,000 runs, 7 All-Star Game appearances, an All-Star Game MVP, a Gold Glove, and a batting title in 1,823 games. The Blue Jays lost this trade by 21.75 wins above replacement. Today's video is brought to you by Rare MLB. On Rare MLB, you can build a fantasy baseball dynasty and win amazing rewards with Rare's revolutionary fantasy MLB game. This game transforms baseball fans into general managers. Visit the marketplace to buy, sell, and trade digital player cards to boost your team and progress to advanced competitions with once-in-a-lifetime prizes like merch, game tickets, and VIP packages. Rare is a free-to-play daily fantasy game where you score points based on the real-life performance of the players in your lineup. When you first sign up for Rare MLB, you'll get to draft 10 common cards to begin your collection. You'll need to draft 3 starters, a relief pitcher, 2 corner infielders, 2 middle infielders, and 2 outfielders. You're able to enter into modified points league-based tournaments for each game week, where you're able to win prizes determined by how many points your roster scores. Rare MLB uses a bi-weekly tournament schedule with each game week spanning a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of the game week, if your team performed well enough in your tournaments, you'll earn rewards in the form of new Rare MLB cards to add to your collection and strengthen your team for the next tournaments. Make sure you click the link in our bio to start playing Rare MLB today. On November 14th, 2003, the Minnesota Twins sent all-star catcher AJ Pierzynski to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for Boof Bonser, Francisco Liriano, and Joe Nathan. Although Pierzynski was an all-star and hit .301 in 430 games in his Twins career, they had the minor league player of the year and top prospect Joe Mauer ready to be called up and take a spot behind the dish. The Giants also needed a catcher because Benito Santiago had filed for free agency and was ready to move on. Bonser was the worst return for the Twins. He was a top 30 prospect, but still ended up throwing almost 400 innings for the club at the big league level to a 5.12 ERA. Francisco Liriano broke into the big leagues in 2005 and would make his one and only All-Star appearance in his first full season. In that 2006 year where he made the All-Star game, Liriano went 12-3 with a .216 earned run average, struck out 144 batters in 121 innings. Liriano would go on to throw 783 innings in a Twins uniform, going 50-52 with an ERA over 4.3 and a solid middle of the rotation piece. At the 2012 trade deadline, Minnesota ended up dealing Liriano to the White Sox for Eduardo Escobar and Pedro Hernandez. Hernandez didn't do much in the Twin Cities, but Eduardo Escobar played 671 games for the Twins all over the field. Eventually, he got moved to Arizona, where Yoan Duran was a return piece and still playing dividends for the Twins right now. Joe Nathan was the one that got away. In '99 and 2000 for the Giants, he started 29 games, but things really started to skyrocket for him when he got moved to the bullpen. In his last season in San Francisco, Nathan led all NL relievers in victories, going 12-4 with a .296 earned run average. As soon as he got out of California, he became one of the best closers in all of baseball. From 2004 to 2011, Joe Nathan was the answer at the back end of the Twins' pen. Nathan compiled a 24-13 record, an ERA of 2.16. He struck out 561 batters, compiled 260 saves in 463 innings for the Twins. While in Minnesota, he went to 4 All-Star games, was top 5 in Cy Young voting twice, before moving on to Texas, where he would make 2 more All-Star games in a row. AJ Pierzynski's tenure in San Francisco was extremely short. Pierzynski played only 1 season for the Giants and batted .272 with 11 homers and 77 runs batted in 2004. Multiple pitchers on that Giants staff said AJ was a locker room cancer, and after just 1 season, the Giants released Pierzynski as he would go on to sign with the Chicago White Sox, where the next season he would end up helping lead them to a World Series. The Giants lost the trade by 27.51 wins above replacement. On July 12th, 2006, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays traded one of their most successful players in Aubrey Huff to the Houston Astros for a couple of low-tiered prospects in Mitch Talbot and Ben Zobrist. The Astros were 43-46 on the day of the trade, and the Rays were giving up a player in Aubrey Huff that had played 799 games for the franchise, where he hit .287, had 870 hits, and 128 home runs. While in Houston, Huff would end up hitting .250 for the Astros with 13 home runs and 38 RBIs, but it wasn't enough to push them into a playoff spot. 68 games was all Huff would spend in Houston, as he signed with Baltimore in the offseason as a free agent. Mitch Talbot never really amounted to much, as he would break into the big leagues in 2008, but would only throw 9 2/3 at the major league level for the Devil Rays and had an ERA of 11.17. He would find some success later in Cleveland, starting 40 games between 2010 and 2011, but never found himself in the big leagues again. Ben Zobrist was the one who became the huge part of this deal. He would end up playing over 1,000 games for the Rays, becoming one of the best utility players in all of baseball. He would make 2 All-Star games, lead the Rays to a World Series appearance where they would eventually lose to the Phillies, but would move on to win 2 World Series for himself. He had 1,016 hits, he hit .264, had an OPS plus of 117 in his 9 years in Tampa. The Astros lost this trade by just under 35 wins above replacement. Once again, thank you to So Rare MLB for sponsoring this video. Let me know what you guys think of some of these lopsided trades and other ones you would have liked to include. I will see you guys next time.